Good morning, Lionhearts. It's your old pal, Jordan the Lion. How are you all doing today? Great. I hope you said great. I'm going to have a great day today. I wake up every day saying, even if I'm not feeling it, I want to try and have a great day. And one of the things from my childhood that always puts a smile on my face is Linda Ronstadt. When I was a little kid, kind of one of my favorite things to do was on Sundays, my aunt always went over to my grandma's house and she would do her laundry. And she would swing by and she would pick me up at our house, and I would get to go over there and kind of hang out with them and play card games. We'd always play Uno, or we would play Trouble. We would watch movies, so a lot of the old movies that I vlog now are things that I watched with them. But my aunt always brought a VHS of the Pirates of Penzance. She never forgot it. It was always in her laundry basket and she always played it, and for some reason I always loved it. I loved the music. Gilbert and Sullivan to me are the greatest musical composers. As far as that kind of stuff, like musical theater, I think they're the greatest. And Linda Ronstadt was so beautiful. Kevin Kline was really funny in it, and it's a really funny, well done movie musical. And so I always loved it, and I've always loved Linda Ronstadt. And you know, an interesting thing about Linda is that her grandfather, he was one of the most, well, I guess as she said it, he was the third most well-known inventor for inventing useful products behind Thomas Edison. And his name was Coatman, so he sold a lot of inventions and made a pretty good deal of money, but he ended up spending almost all the money he ever made trying to find a cure for Parkinson's disease, which his wife, Linda Ronstadt's grandmother, had. Now, Linda Ronstadt, one of the greatest voices of all time, one of the sounds of Los Angeles. I mean, she really, her history is all over the boulevard. It's all over Los Angeles. And now she's unable to sing because she has Parkinson's disease. So I was thinking, you know, I want to do something for Linda today, or just kind of like an interesting story out of her life. And I thought, we have to go help our friend Scott Michaels at Dearly Departed Online today. He's moving the last bit of stuff out of his apartment, and it's over in the area of an interesting Linda Ronstadt story that I know of. So we're gonna head over there today. It's actually right across from Paramount Pictures. We're gonna go to a restaurant. I don't even think it's open because of COVID right now, but it's called Lucy's Adobe. And I'm gonna tell you about how Linda's night of singing the national anthem at the Dodgers game ended with her being in a relationship with the governor of California. Daze with Jordan the Lion begins now. Let's hit it. So I decided to start our story today over at the gateway to Beverly Hills, because right across the street from this Beverly Hills park is the very first place that Linda got her first start here in Los Angeles. Let me tell you how she got here. So Linda grew up in Tucson, Arizona, very close to the border, and her father, he had a band, a popular band, that if you wanted like your sweetheart serenaded or you had a wedding or anything, his band would come and play. And that's how he ended up winning over Linda's mom, by serenading her. And so there was always music in the house, and Linda said that, you know, we spent a lot of time listening to the radio because we were really close to the border, so we got really great music, country, and we would get Mexican music. And she said that was, when she was growing up, she thought that you actually spoke English and sang in Spanish because that's just what she knew. And so her brother Pete was actually a very good singer as well. He was in a special choral group, like a boys choir, and he was the featured soloist, and they traveled. So when they were growing up, they all sang together, her older sister Linda and her brother Pete, and then they eventually formed a vocal group, like a little folk group called the New Union Ramblers. And they enlisted a friend, Bobby Kimmel, to be in the group. Now they started singing and performing a little bit, but what they found out was that realistically there just weren't hardly any places in Tucson to perform. And so Linda's older sister ended up going off and, well, she already had kids and just decided that, you know, it's just too much to do this, as well as having a family. Her brother Pete joined the police force, and Linda was there with Bobby, and then Bobby ended up taking off to Los Angeles. Now Linda was there alone, and she said Bobby Kimmel came out here, and when he saw the talent, the vocal talent in Los Angeles, he immediately called Linda and said, I think if you come out here, we could start a group up and get a record deal. And so Linda made her way out to Los Angeles, and they formed a group together called the Stone Poneys, and they started performing right across the street behind me at the world famous Doug Weston's Troubadour. Here's the famous Doug Weston's Troubadour. We'll go a little closer. You can see they've boarded it all up so nobody does any damage while it's closed. So Bobby Kimmel had convinced Linda with not much effort. I mean, she knew that she wanted to be a singer and there was nothing happening in Tucson, so she came out here, joined up with the Stone Poneys, and they started performing here quite a bit. And in the day, I mean, a lot of careers were made here. Joni Mitchell, Elton John, Jackson Browne, Linda Ronstadt, of course, even the Eagles. Now, the Eagles actually play a little bit of a part into Linda's history, but Linda started performing here, and they took the group, Stone Poneys, had arranged a different version of a cover song, different drum, and they had went and done a demo of it using like dulcimers, and it was kind of a folky version, but it was Linda singing and it was great. And they ended up securing a deal with Capitol Records through this. They ended up getting Frank Zappa's manager at the time, but Capitol heard it and said, no, we want to change the style of this song, and then it became the version that you know, with like the symphony and everything, and it's just an absolutely amazing song. But they were so successful that the record label saw Linda was a standout talent, and so when they came back from doing a couple of opening shows, basically Capitol Records said, we don't have a use for your band, we want to develop you as a solo artist. Bobby Kimmel ended up leaving and opening up McCabe's, which was a music venue, but it's very famous here in Los Angeles because it's a guitar shop, it's a music venue. They have all kinds of kind of interesting, intimate performances, almost unplugged type performances. But she ended up needing a band because she was taking off, you know, her solo career was taking off. She wanted a kind of a rock band. And so the band that ended up backing her up ended up being known as the Eagles. And the Eagles were, they were so good, and she saw it, they were writing songs together and everything, and she gave them her blessing to go off and do their own band, do their own thing, and they were the famous Eagles that we know today. Now, when they were her backing band, the same moment, 1971, that's when she sang at Dodger Stadium. So let's go over to Lucy's Adobe and talk about that. So if you're not familiar with the Troubadour, I've vlogged the Lost Weekend of Harry Nilsson and John Lennon here once before. You can see a little bit more of the front, but the front door that you would have entered as a fan would be right about here, and then you generally lined up down the front right here. Really great venue. I hope it gets to reopen, I really do. Somebody broke out the window of the building next door, and I was like, I wonder what's in there, and I looked in, it's just like Chinese ball lights, lanterns. And I think before we go, I gotta at least show you the famous alleyway that all the bands would load their equipment in through. If you were a performer, you know this alleyway. This was also the valet section for Dan Tana's back here, famous Italian eatery. So this would be the back of the Troubadour back here. All this, fire exit. Load in right here. I interviewed the band Super Drag here. The backstage area here is actually upstairs. The green room's upstairs. There's a Banksy. Street art. So Linda would have came to LA in 1964, 65 when she was 18 years old. She said her first house was on the beach. She paid $80 a month and split it 3 ways with the other band members. Right now we're currently on Melrose Avenue, so you can see what it looks like now. And you'll see this particular square is called the I Love Lucy Square, and it says, in honor of Lucy Casado, the owner of Lucy's El Adobe Cafe and Lucille Ball, co-owner of Desilu Productions. And that's because this all used to be the former location of Desilu. But right here on the corner, right across the street, is Lucy's. Right here on Melrose, this was the infamous entrance to Lucy's Adobe. Since there's tons of traffic, we'll do it from the back entrance. Unfortunately, they are closed for COVID, but they claim to be the best Mexican food since 1964. Whoa, how ironic. I just mentioned that my tie into this was playing Uno and Trouble with my grandma, and there's literally an Uno card as we walk around the corner. Isn't that nuts? I don't even own an Uno deck. And randomly, let's see what card it is. I hope it's a draw 4. Nope, it's a 3. Wow. How crazy is that? So the story that Lucy Casado tells is that they were actually watching the Dodger game and saw Linda Ronstadt sing the national anthem. This was right before she really was like a mega star, and she would have been 26 years old, and they said they saw her on there singing, and the next thing they knew, she showed up at a limo here to have some dinner. And when she walked in, she met Lucy's, I think, father or husband, father, I believe, and he wore the same shirts, the 4-pocketed shirts that Linda's father wore. It was a Mexican shirt. And so she said, oh, he wears the same shirts that my dad does. This is going to be a good place. And this was like a big family style eatery where they had big long tables, and you would be sat with kind of random strangers, so you would all get to know each other. And they said that they had a big table, and that's where, you know, you could be sat with a policeman or whoever. And Linda had decided to change the music, change the 8-track. And so she stood up on one of the seats and up on the wine rack. And as she did that, the governor, Jerry Brown, walked in and looked at Lucy and said, "Who's that?" And so they ended up sitting Jerry and Linda next to each other, and that was the first time they had met. And they would be intertwined in each other's life, or at least publicly, either as friends or relationship from 1971 till about 1983. Linda said that was always just personal. They never talked politics or anything like that, and she really liked him. He must have a lot of charisma, because he's actually been publicly known to date quite a few famous people. I believe Stevie Nicks, Natalie Wood, I think even Candice Bergen. So that's quite a few famous names to have at one point had a relationship with or something. So there you go. Now, I guess at the time this was a radio station, KJH. It was a big radio station at the time, but the reason that Linda had the limo bringer here was, I guess this place was kind of a staple for musicians at the Troubadour. When they didn't have a lot of money, Lucy was known for not giving them a bill, letting them eat for free. And so they always kind of, as they all became successful, would come back and dine here. I've never eaten here, so I don't know what it's like, but apparently they have a whole wall of famous photos of people that are regulars here. And look at this right in the concrete. Hollywood legend Dennis Woodruff signed this. If you don't know Dennis Woodruff, look him up on YouTube. He used to drive around a crazy car all over Hollywood and hand painted all over the car. It said, buy my movie, DennisWoodruff.com. This is also a filming location. This is where Rick Dalton, Leonardo DiCaprio, comes out after a day of work in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and Cliff Booth, Brad Pitt, picks him up right out here, or right out here, one of these spots. I'm not sure if Lucy's is closed permanently or not. I wanted to do this vlog about 6 months ago, and they were closed then, so they're not even open for pickup or anything. I'm not sure if they'll ever reopen, but I did always want to try this place. And if I ever get back here and it's open, I'll try it then, I guess. There has to be some sort of reason there's one random odd Uno card here. What the heck? This is the street behind the street I used to live on. Look how many tents there are. The whole thing. It's like the whole freaking street on both sides. Speaking of dearly departed, we're on our way over to Scott's now, and there's the old museum. You can see where the sign used to be up there. So Scott, you're moving out of the place. It's been many years here, and I was doing a vlog today on Linda Ronstadt. You knew I was gonna do something, and you mentioned an interesting story. Now, I already told everybody that Linda used to have a singing group with her brother Pete, and then he left the group to become a police officer. You told me something interesting about him as a police officer. What was it?
Yeah, he actually he was in Arizona, in Tucson, and he was a police officer. And when the day after Robert Bardo killed Rebecca Schaefer over here on right up Beverly, I don't remember the. I think
it's like Sweetser or something like that.
That's
yeah.
Right, yeah.
Which I vlogged, yeah.
7/18, I think. But yeah. So after he killed Rebecca Schaefer, he went to Tucson and he was arrested the next day for behaving strangely. You know, walking into traffic and just behaving strangely, and they arrested him. And it was Linda Ronstadt's brother that was the person who arrested him. And then they put his description in the computer and they faxed it, I guess, over here because he was still wearing the same clothes. And they identified him. Witnesses identified him as the killer. So Linda Ronstadt's brother was actually the arresting officer on Robert Bardo unintentionally for the murder of Rebecca Schaefer.
All right, my friends, we're gonna call it a day. Now, normally I would say nobody should ever try and cover a Roy Orbison song because nobody can do it better than Roy or even comparable, but Linda Ronstadt's the exception. So go listen to Blue Bayou. Thank you all for watching. Thank you Allison Webb, Tim Mannion, Brandy, Sam Haney, C. Jane Build, and Wendy Reeser for becoming my newest Patreons. We'll see you all next time. Goodbye.